was 22-year-old Fabio Bartolotta, an individual with strong family ties to defendants convicted in connection with the Pizza Connection narcotics distribution case of the 1980s.
Shop in the Ridgewood section of Queens who have engaged in numerous armed robberies and other violent crimes across Queens County over the past.
And it's a shame I'm not the man I used to
Hello and welcome back to 52 Topics with Frank Fiorellino. Ridgewood, a true story. Season 3, Episode 3. Have you seen Applehead? Frank, the last episode, we talked a little bit. There's some drama going on at Cafe Giannini. You're getting into the stolen goods. You got with these guys with their stolen cars. Obviously, Tabita is still locked up. What's going on, man?
Right, the beat is locked up at this point at Coxsackie, but they had moved him to Green. This is his second place he's been in while he's been incarcerated upstate New York. And while he's there, he runs into Johnny Borelli from Howard Beach. And we'll get to that, but they become a little bit closer. They belong to the same crime family. They're aspiring to be a part of that family. And Lenny DeMaria, Anthony's uncle, sends word up to Anthony that take care of him while he's there, talking about John Borelli, because he's with us. So that's going on, but we'll get into that. Now, we discussed about Anthony, and he's running junk up there, heroin. He's running sports through Paul Ragusa, and people are coming to see him, so he's keeping busy. Aside from the girlfriend thing, which he's sending Fop to do his dirty work for him, he's fine. But yet, then there's the whole situation with Ralph.
Ralph Sciulla.
That's correct. With Ralph Sciulla. We discussed that in episode 2. There's a tit for tat every time. They're going back and forth. And this episode, we're gonna really dig into Ralph and from beginning to end. And what I mean is, I grew up with Ralph. We went to Catholic school together. He was a year older than us. We had episodes about Ralph on this. And he was a go-getter. He was somebody who was ambitious. And then if you were a person out there looking to recruit somebody, Ralph would probably be it, because he was good with money. But, he was stepping over a lot of lines, Ralph was. And we talked about him stealing fireworks and eventually stealing it from the very same person that actually recruited him, Bobby Glasses. And he was into everything. He didn't care if he had to sell drugs or deal with anybody he had to deal with. So, he was an open book on anything he wanted to do. But he was also good with money. So a lot of people liked him. As a kid, he was always stepping over lines. I remember when he graduated the 8th grade, middle school, and they gave him rings. He took it on himself to put a ring on and just start giving violent noogies to anybody who was around him, just being a real freaking asshole. That's who he was. Everybody goes, but he was always there when we had a problem and everything like that. Yeah, but he did it for himself. He wanted it because he wanted to ingrace himself with people. Um, I
Yeah, I
remember
mean,
when he got
listen, I've known people like that. I mean, obviously you guys are playing a much higher stakes game, but I feel like everybody knows that guy that gets too physical or overdoes it, but he looks at it as like him being friendly in some weird warped way. I get it. It's a weird way to be though.
right. He's the guy who would be nice to your parents, and then when you're down the block, fuck you up to be funny,
Yeah.
or, or
Yeah.
leave you locked in a room for about an hour and laugh. He had just those kind of ways about him. I mean, he got better as we got older, but it was always something. Even with the credit cards, which we've spoken about, he gets his hands on these credit cards instead of like from a mailman. Instead of like putting us in action, he would just flaunt money in front of us and look at you guys or make a little comment. And and the crazy thing about it is his father. Yeah, his father knew people. His father was respected. His father was one who paid his debts when he played cards, but he wasn't involved. So I think he got that wrong. He probably thought if he ever got in trouble, his father could get him out of it. And he didn't have that kind of pull, let's say, as Paul or Fabio had up to a point, because most of our relatives weren't there. Myself or Anthony Tabita, he didn't have that. He was suspected of robbing the coffee shops. Baldo thought he robbed his coffee shop, so he didn't like him at all, even though he didn't mind causing that stir between him and Paul, because it's like killing two birds. When Ralph, which is probably his death, it was sealing his fate. Okay, when he went to Baldo and told him that, you know, why would you give that 100,000 to Paul? He's a degenerate gambler. Why would Ralph would say that? That wasn't his business. He took it on himself to do that, and Baldo ignored it, but at the same time let Paul know that Ralph said that. You understand? Kind of like to put gas up his ass.
Right, right. But how does that play out on the street? Because you have Baldo, he is who he is, but Sciulla's with Bobby Glasses, who is also another guy who is not he's not necessarily a nobody. So how does that actually work if Baldo kills him on the sneak tip or whatever? Does that even matter? Or is that something he should try to mediate with another guy before something gets to that level, or he doesn't give a shit?
No, Baldo's at that point could do anything he wants because he's the main guy and Bobby Glasses is not.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. Okay.
so that doesn't really. And then if he finds out he robbed his place, I mean, if he's 100% sure, um, then he goes to do whatever the fuck he wants to do. You got to remember, in the Sicilian community, Baldo could basically do whatever he wanted to do because it didn't have that pull anymore, and he had to watch himself with the Italian American community. So
Right,
anything
right.
was
Right.
possible. If he
Mhm.
didn't do nothing to Ralph at the time, it was
Right.
because his father was a very big customer at the coffee shop where Baldo owned. Well, not by name. His cousin Nino ran it, which is Giannini's, but he gambled there. He gave business there. So
Right, and I think I forget that, we're talking about the early '90s, and it's not the Bobby Glasses that is the Bobby Glasses, like, when you get indicted and all that other stuff, so I gotta remember that as well.
well, no, but don't forget though. At the same time, Bobby Glasses, um, he's gonna want answers if something happened to Ralph. He's gotten real close to Ralph.
Yeah.
So and he sees potential in Ralph. But at the same time, Ralph does things that doesn't care if does it behind Bobby's back. But at the same time, could have repercussions with other people. For example, my uncle has a whole bunch of machines up on Myrtle Avenue at the time at the South Sweet Shop. And Ralph has these keys. He's going all over the place. And it's known that somebody comes in there, and they even see him there sometimes too. Or he sends people in there to go in the back room, open the machines, and take money out. That
Shit.
right there could get you fucking killed. So we were starting to get rubble into this too.
Yeah.
He
Hmm.
just was doing things because he was getting ahead of himself. He was starting, "I'll fuck it. They ain't gonna do anything anyway." He was trying people. The other thing was with my brother Phil. when he gets a beating in Italian 90, we'll go back to season 1. And it was when Paul got into it with the girl Janet. And they leave because they know that the Howard Beach guy is going to come down. The guys who were like 8, 9 years older. My brother specifically tells Ralph, listen, go home. Go home. I got this. Don't worry about it. They're going to come back. They're going to come back. Let me handle it. And then they go. He goes, I wasn't there. I wasn't involved. So I'll just stay. Don't worry about it. It ain't going to do nothing to me. I go, Ralph, you put me in a bad fucking situation. Just go the fuck home. He goes, listen, trust me. That's not going to happen. Sure enough, they come down. They go, hey, Phil, what's going on? Oh, we're not going to do nothing here. We're just going to talk to Ralph and go to the corner. Talk to whoever you want. Not in here, whatever. So Ralph goes with them around the corner thinking, nothing's going to happen. And they toss him a fucking beating. After he gets a beating tossed by before they came down, Franklin, D.C., the Ruggiero guy, God rest his soul. He wasn't a bad guy. And the Rafferty guy that they hanged out with. And I don't know who the fourth guy was. They threw him a beating. When they threw him a beating, I find out, because my brother said, go home. He was packed. If they do something to him, I know my brother, he's going to take a shot at one of them. Yeah. They leave. And sure enough, I don't know, this happened probably, around Italian 90, 89, 90. He always had that in his head that my brother never helped him out. No, my brother told you to go home. You just didn't want to because you thought you could handle it, being Ralph, and he didn't. So he was just getting full of himself in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So that's what was going on with him. He gets that call on a Sunday. Him and Fabio, he goes, him and Fabio dealt probably, it was a Sunday. Yeah, him and Fabio had this report, Ralph and Fabio, that, if they got some pounds of weed or they got a kilo or two of coke, he'd always dump it on Ralph because Ralph knew his way around. And either they robbed it from somebody or something. Ralph would get rid of it right away. He'd give it to him on consignment. He was good with money, and he'll bring it to him. So it was like, I don't know. It was a Sunday. I don't remember the quantity. I think it was 5 keys or 4 keys. Fabio had told him, listen, my mom had gotten her hands on 4 keys of coke. He kind of hook, line, and sinker bought it, right? He goes, help me get rid of it. He goes, and I'll call you when I got it. Ralph goes, okay, no problem, Fab. You tell me when you got it. I'll come pick it up. Says, good. He beeps him out of Giannini's Cafe. This is around 2:00, and he tells him on a Sunday, and he goes, meet me, and we'll go to my house. He goes, okay. He goes over there. Ralph's Mercedes, this is. He picks up Fabio, and it's on Fresh Pond Road. So they go the other side of Fresh Pond Road, the Maspich side, where Fabio lives. There's a park right there, Reef Park, and it's on the right. Fabio lived on a corner house. His garage there. So let's go. They get in the car, and they drive there. As they drive there, it's not rare that Ralph is going to pick up something for Fabio at his house. He goes there. They come in there. They open the garage. They park the car outside. And while they park the car, here comes with a small caliber pistol and shoots Ralph 3 times. Pop, pop, pop. As he shoots Ralph looks, he goes, what the fuck you doing? What you doing? He's getting body shots. Now you got to remember, it out with him. He'd been bugging Fabio for the longest. And Fabio was reluctant, was adamant, and fucking Vito didn't give a fuck. So he goes, all right. As he looks down, like out of the dark side, they come down right in the garage. There's Vito. He comes right up to him, and with his 9, shoots him right on top of his head. Boom. And that's it. Lights out. Fucking blood everywhere. Garage is down. They had the silencers. Both had silencers. And they hit him. He's on the floor, and there's blood everywhere. They open the garage, get his car, bring it back in the Mercedes, a black Mercedes, and they put him in the trunk. When they put him in the trunk, Vito and get out of there, and they go to dump Ralph, and they leave. Fabio's there. He says, what am I going to do? So at this point, he calls Clemenza, John Clemenza. He goes, hey, look, I need you to come to my house quick. When Clemenza gets there, he's like, what the fuck happened here? He goes, don't worry about it. I'll tell you in a minute. Just, we got to clean this fucking thing. So they start, Ralph was a pretty big kid. And when you get a headshot, there's going to be a lot of blood. And they start cleaning the whole fucking place out, his house. There was always rumor that his mother was at the house when this happened, blah, blah, blah. That never happened. His mother was in Italy at the time. That didn't happen. So they clean the whole place up. As they're cleaning the whole place up, they get his clothes, they get his wallet, they get everything. They go, we got to dump this shit. We're going to dump it. He goes, we'll figure it out. So they get in their car, they take their stuff, they clean the whole place. It took them about an hour. He says, an hour and a half. This is what I was reading. And they take it. When they get in there, they go to Howard Beach. You know Howard Beach by the water?
Of course, yeah.
You know the bridge?
Yep.
This is like the lower part of the bridge, obviously. They go to this lower part of the bridge and they throw the bag over with his belongings, whatever, anything that's incriminating, blood-soaked clothes, and they throw the stuff underneath. Well, they throw the shit underneath. They see it come right back up. They're like, oh, fuck. Fabio goes, oh, come on, man. What the fuck? Look at that. We can't let this happen.
They didn't put a hole in it, right?
They didn't put a hole in it, right?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? I don't know. He goes, well, go in there. Clement goes, I'm not going in there. He goes, you got to go fucking in there. I mean, we're not going to make that go. Go fucking jump in there. And he goes in there. When he goes in there, you almost see it's not that deep, but it's deep enough like to his neck. And if he's trying to swim to it, it's like going away a little bit. It's like, Ralph is in there saying, no, fuck you, motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he finally grabs it, puts a hole in there, and let goes of it. And that's it. They just let it go. It sank. They get in the car, they go back. Fabio gets rid of John, leaves him off somewhere, John Clemenza. And meanwhile, and Vito are driving towards Long Island. They're driving to Long Island. They got the body in the car. And, thinking about it, that was the end of Ralph, thinking I knew this guy all my life. It's probably the last ride he ever took to the LIE,
That's what I'm thinking as you're telling this story. Like, in my head, I'm like thinking back to the beginning of this whole show. This is, aside from Vito, of course, I mean, this is somebody that you guys know your whole life.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, them fucking around with him at 5 o'clock and going back and forth. Even he said fucked up things and we did. A lot of people felt bad about it at the time. Some people didn't, So, they drive him over there. They basically got picked up by somebody else when they got to where they got to. And they dropped them in a residential street, which basically they find them a week after. I remember we'll talk about what went on after it was a Monday. He was very close with his mom. A lot of people are. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But he was missing for a week. But that started, it was just Sunday. Monday, there was something going on already. Tuesday, Wednesday, nobody heard from him. And we'll get to that. But they go meet up. It was just like nothing ever happened. And they end up coming to the coffee shop. I remember that. And then I'm there. And, I've had that going back and forth with Ralph at the time, too. So Vito, I'm working. Vito approaches me. Goes, hey, what's going on? He looked like something was on his mind. Not much, but looked like he just won a game, but really like nothing to laugh about. He goes, it was nothing. He goes, hey, you seen Applehead? I said, no, that was our nickname for Rob. Well, I think I made nicknames too, so it's no fucking big deal. I said, no. He goes, and you're not gonna either. I said, okay. And I just turned into a block of ice, fucking like, You got to remember, I know him fucking at this point. Shit, I'm what, 20, 22? And I know him at least, I don't know, 15 years, let's say. All right. So that was that. And when the people, the family started looking for him the next day and all, I knew it was over. You know, Ralph was no more. A couple of the guys, Joe Gambino, his friends that he was hanging out at the time, some of the girls that he was involved with, because he had a lot of girlfriends, this guy. They were going a little hysterical. And the father, I remember, he was a mess. The sister was a mess. And, they finally found him. And when they finally found him, that was it. Ralph died. That was like the first kind of casualty of the kids that I grew up with, real close ones that we had. We had ones in the past. There was the one I discussed with Alex, Black Alex, when the kid dies in a car accident. It was a really good kid. A lot of the guys knew that kid, Frankie, a long time. But Ralphie was somebody that we did grow up with. Fabio, Paul, and me. And Anthony Tabita, who was in jail at the time. He hears about it, one of the visits, they tell him. And Anthony years later, I remember when he had come out of jail, he was always like not really it bothered him when Ralphie's name used to come up. This is Anthony Tabita. He wasn't involved in it. He was in jail. But that's what happened. That's the shitty life. We're all aspiring to basically get into this life, and what we think is just a casualty of our voyage to our trip to becoming what we want to become. There's people that fall during this time, and then when you get older, you're like, well, was it worth it?
Right. I mean, as far as Tabita goes, I assume a part of it is because he knew him, or maybe that's all of what it is, because he knew him for so long, and maybe he didn't agree with it, or maybe he wasn't on the street to get a full picture, so he felt weird about it. But did he also look at him as like a fellow associate in the same family? Was there any of that in it, do you think?
No. I believe it's like we all would just grow up with him,
Right.
But believe me, we all had shitty ways. Paul had his, I had mine, Fabio had his. Vito really came into the picture. And believe it or not, when it came to that life, the only one that was really what you see is what you get is Vito. Even though people did time and what I'm not talking about between rats and non-rats, it's like to him, that's just the way it goes. You understand? But the people that he was one of the first guys that we grew up with that died. We had another kid who died in a motorcycle accident. But this definitely hit home. I remember people started going looking for him, and then they approached him. Joe Gambino was really close with Ralph, and he went looking for him like a nut until somebody told him, "Hey, stop! Don't! You're making. What are you, a fucking detective? Stop, or you're next." And he got the message.
Yeah.
He got the message.
Yeah.
But then there was people on Ralph's side that were going around looking to see what happened. Bobby Glasses was one of them. Eventually, he asked me, hey, you know anything about what happened to Ralph? And he was serious. He was dead serious. He put his head down and looked at me like, I said, no, not at all. He goes,
was this while he was missing or when they found his body?
This is after he's dead. This is months later.
Okay.
Yeah, and I said, no, not at all. He goes, okay, because they talk about this kid Vito. I said, no, I didn't hear nothing. And I was closer to Vito too, at the time too. So I didn't want nothing to happen to him at all. You know what I mean? And even if I did know, it wasn't my thing.
It's not your thing. Yeah, you got to stay out of it. And
exactly, you don't want to be that guy. You don't ever want.
Yeah. You're old enough and wise enough, and you've been around this your whole life just to know, right? Like just plead ignorance. No, I don't even know.
Well,
yeah,
that's it, buddy. That's it.
Let me ask you before we go. Do you feel bad about it today?
Well, yeah. At the time, I really, I'm going to be very honest, and this probably might sound a little shitty. Today, I do. Do I wish he had lived? Yeah, of course. And had a family, of course. Yes. But at the time, did I feel bad? And this is probably going to surprise a lot of people. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 3 of season 3 for Ridgewood, A True Story. Have you seen Applehead? Thank you for listening.
Well, you've got your diamond and you've got your pretty clothes, and the chauffeur drives your cars. You let everybody know, but don't play with me, 'cause you're playing with fire. Your mother, she's an heiress, owns a block in St. John's Wood, and your father'd be there with her if he only could. But don't play with me, 'cause you're playing with fire. Took her diamonds and tiaras by the score. Now she gets her kicks in Stepney, not in Knightsbridge anymore. So don't play with me, 'cause you're playing with fire. Now you've got some diamonds, will